Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out here in the shop, lake. I'm actually on the lake doing a shop, and we're gonna talk a little bit about one of the hottest trending baits out there right now, and that's that Berkley Powerbait Gilly. You know, you talk about a bluegill imitation, I don't know if it gets any better than that. The great thing about this Gilly is there's so many different ways you can rig it, from a Texas rig, to fishing it like a topwater, to a Carolina rig, to a swim bait, to a bed bait. Lots of ways to rig it. But we've got a great scenario for you today, and that is springtime, spawning fish. We have some actually on beds. We have some that are done, guarding fry. We have some that haven't spawned yet, that are moving up to spawn. Also, in addition to that, you can probably see it behind me. Dude, it's cloudy. It's foggy. It's overcast. Like, these conditions are the kind of conditions where a fish will chase. A fish is going to get a little looser to the cover. And here's the last thing I want to say about this, and before we get into the rigging and the fishing, is this imitates one of the most primary forage fish that a bass eats. And that is a bluegill, a panfish, a sunfish, a gill, right? This gilly is supposed to imitate panfish. I don't care if you live in Canada or Florida or Texas or Jersey or New York or California, Ohio, anywhere you live, there's gonna be bluegill, sunfish, panfish in that lake, and those bass are gonna eat them. So you combine those things, shallow springtime fish, they don't like bluegill to begin with. You got this thing swimming around their bed, it's going to make for a meal for those fish. We're going to be fishing it today, rigged one of my favorite ways. And again, this isn't the only way, but this is the big one. We're going to be fishing, this is the 130 millimeter, the 130 size. And to me, this is a good size because it looks like an adult bluegill, right? It looks like an adult panfish. And we're going to be fishing this swim bait style. A lot of the water we're fishing here is going to be 1 to 3 foot deep, so relatively shallow, areas where the fish might spawn, and I'm going to side rig it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm using this is a 4/0 ringed EWG hook by VMC. The 4/0 is the perfect size for the 130, the 3/0 is the perfect size for the 110, and the 2/0 is the perfect size for the 90. So 4/0 EWG VMC ringed hook, and I'm basically side rigging it, which means when I rig it, I want that hook to go through the side of the bait, but I always want that hook to be below the horizontal gill on it, right? The top of that gilly is hollow, so I want that hollow side to be up. I want that hook to be down, the belly's solid. And when you rig it like that, it makes it swim in a anatomically correct way, okay? You could add some weight to the chin if you're fishing deeper, but because we're fishing so shallow today, we're gonna fish it weightless. The hook and the O-ring provide a little weight. We're gonna fish it around these flats. I'm gonna show you how to swim it, and also I'm gonna tell you about the hook set, which is really important. All right, let's fish this gilly. Enough talking. All right, so guys, I am fishing the big size. This is the 130 Gilly. I got it side rigged. I'm fishing it on 15 or 17 pound fluorocarbon. This actually happens to be 17, 100% Berkley trilene fluorocarbon. The great thing about this big one, the 130, is I can make a really long cast, but I want to show you a little on how I'm reeling it, how I'm working it. And remember, the key to the Gilly is anatomically correct and a fluid swimming motion. Just like a bluegill, right? If you see a bluegill swimming through the water, that's exactly what we want to mimic. So as you're fishing the bait, imagine in your head, imagine a bluegill swimming around. All right, hopefully I don't get crapped on here. All right, here it goes. I'm going to start out and I'm going to make a really long cast past where I believe the fish are living. So today, you know, we're fishing spawning type areas. So super long cast. When it hits, I'm going to immediately start what I call a medium to slow, steady retrieve. And in that retrieve, I'm just trying to let that tail move. But every once in a while, guys, this is key, right? Every once in a while, I'm going to twitch it and put a pause. And as I pause, I'm going to bow to it just a little bit. Then I'm going to begin on my retrieve again. I want to show it to you again, okay? You ready? Really long cast. As soon as it hits, medium to slow retrieve. And every once in a while, I'm going to twitch it and bow to it. Throw some slack into it. And then I start my retrieve again. I'll stutter stop it a little, twitch, bow, start retrieving. Slow, steady, twitch, bow, start retrieving. And that little twitch and you throwing slack into the line will make this bait swim. And then when you twitch it, it kicks it and you throw slack into it. You ready for this? I'm not kidding you guys. It turns and looks at the fish. It actually turns 360 degrees, 90 degrees, and looks at the fish. So the twitch, the slack, stutter stopping, medium slow, all important when you're fishing the gilly. Oh God, giant wake, dude. On the corner of those pads. It was either a carp or a giant spawning. Let's see. This will be big one behind it. Got him. Giant. 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 Yeah. 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 Guys, that is exactly the description I wanted to give you. Exactly. Look at that. Berkley Powerbait Gilly in his face. Wow, look at that, guys. A big one, 4+ pounder. And I want you to look at that. That's a great look at why this bait is so key. It looks real, the color, the profile, but most importantly, the action of the gilly. And you can tell by the way that fish ate it. This bait's the real deal, guys. This bait is the real deal. I actually saw that fish following it. I kept that slow medium retrieve, and then I did the twitch and bow to it. And when I did that, the bait turned around, did a 90-degree turn. The bait looked at him, and guess what he did when that bait looked at him? He sucked it in like a cigar. Let me let this fish go. I want to tell you a little bit more about the bait, and then hopefully bigger and better. But that's a pretty good first fish on the gilly. Whew. Gonna let this thing go. That's a post-spawn female that was still hanging around the shallows. That might have been a 5-pounder before the spawn, but she's a little spawned out. Mwah. Okay. All right, guys, a great example of the power of the Berkley Powerbait Gilly. I want to tell you real quick too, is don't be afraid to change color. We started out with an HD gilly in that natural sunfish color. The water's real clean, and because of that, I decided to make a switch to a standard color. And this is a color called pumpkin seed. This is in the 130 gilly. But man, I want to show you, look how that hook pops out of that body when you rig it side rig style, okay? Again, so key. This is a VMC EWG 4/0 ringed hook for the 130, 3/0 for the 110, 2/0 for the 90. But when you rig it like that, the bait swims anatomically correct, and it has that fluid motion. That fish was post-spawn, hanging out in lily pads, feeding back up. And man, when those fish, this is the circle of life. Listen, if you're watching this video, you know, if you think I'm getting Lion King on you here, I am. Because the bass spawn first. When the bass are done spawning, the bluegill spawn. And those big females, it's an easy meal when those bluegills get shallow. And dude, that's exactly what that imitated. I saw a wake behind the bait. When I saw the wake, I did a twitch and I bowed to it. I threw slack into it. And when I did that, the twitch made it kick. And when I bowed to it, it spun around. And when that bait spun around, and was looking at the fish, she sucked it in. Pretty amazing. Real quick, I just want to talk to you about the rod and the reel. I mentioned that you want to throw the Gilly on fluorocarbon. It's a 17-pound Berkley 100% trilene fluorocarbon, but this is a 7.4 medium heavy power rod by Abu Garcia, Ike rod. Great rod. You could throw it on a 7.6 medium heavy. Throw this Gilly on a traditional small swim bait rod. The same rod you would throw a boot tail style swim bait, or even like a frog, a hollow bodied frog. That's the same rod you want to throw it on. Gear ratio, I like the faster gear ratio because once they get it, once I feel the pressure, I like to get into the slack and set the hook. So that's the 8-0-1 Abu Garcia Revo Ike, faster retrieve reel, makes a lot of sense. Man, I don't know, you know, when you're looking for big fish, try the Gilly. It's a great imitation of a natural bluegill, of a natural sunfish, of a natural forage. I'm gonna keep fishing, but man, I hope you learned a little bit in this video about fishing a swim bait, about the retrieve, and especially about the pause. Throw those pauses in there, bow to it, make that bait turn. You're gonna catch a lot of fish. Man, if you like these videos, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right down there. Subscribe to my channel. We've got great content coming to you every single week. If you're already subscribed, tell your fishing friends about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We're here to teach you some new stuff. All right, I'm gonna get back to it, man. This is too exciting.